Welcome to Delaware Live Sports. I'm Benny Mitchell, and it's time for some wrestling bracketology. I'm here with Nick Allesandrini, the former St. Mark Spartan. And Nick, welcome to this show today. I know you've probably rinsed your eyes out from basketball last night, right? And you're ready to go wrestling?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Always ready to go to wrestling.
All right, so folks, what we're going to do, we're going to break down the brackets for this upcoming state tournament. Remember, these brackets are as of today. That could change before Saturday. Anybody drops out, something like that. So we're going to go with the information we have now, and we're going to start at 106 pounds. And this bracket's a little different from the rankings, Nick, because last year's state runner-up, Chris Gandolfo, Slasianum, he goes 113 all season. He makes the move down to 106 for this weekend. He's the number one ranked wrestler. I think in the top part of the bracket, Jason Cruz probably in the semifinals, but he's going to have a tough go with Alex Mcavoy. And the reason I say that is McAvoy's a go-getter. He's a young kid, but he'll come after you. And this is going to be the first time Gandolfo's wrestled at 106 this year.
Yeah, and that was going to lead me into my question to you. You've seen him a little bit more than I have, especially this year with all the uncertainties and different things that have gone on. How do you see dropping a weight class to 106 from 113? Obviously, going to be a little bit different. I'm not sure how many guys he's wrestled at 106, maybe just bumping up throughout the year. Not a lot of tournaments this year and all that. So how do you think? Do you like the move moving down?
I think it's a smart move. It gets him the number one seed. He wouldn't be number one at 113. He took a loss during the season, 2 losses. He could have found himself in the top part of the bracket with Jan Petro. So I think it's a good strategic move. I think after he gets a match or two under his belt, he's not going to see Mcavoy till the second round. He won't see Cruz until till Wednesday. So I think it's a good move on the part of Gandolfo. He was the runner-up last year. Hey, why not go after to be a state champ this year? Let's go to the bottom part of the bracket. You got last year's returning third-place winner at this weight class. This is you looked at the brackets. This is a senior heavy weight class at 106, something you don't see very often. Julian Rapano from Del Castle, he's the second seed this year. And here's where it starts to get interesting. You've got Tommy Murray, last year's Blue Hen Conference runner-up. He's the third seed. You expect him to see Wyatt Miller from Smyrna maybe in the quarters, both wrestlers undefeated. But, hey, so's the 8th grader from Caravo, Eddie Radecki. He comes in with a little chip on his shoulder, maybe doesn't like the seeding snub. He could be a mess there in the bottom that quarter of the bracket.
Yeah, these are the kind of things we look for and like to see, especially in terms of the seeding this year. Obviously, this is new territory for us, and I'll get your opinion on the seeding in a little bit. Obviously, the seeding is different from our rankings here at Delaware Live. In terms of Radecki, obviously, undefeated wrestlers this year. Obviously, that's what you want to be. And coming into the state tournament, you're going to see a few of those guys, as you mentioned. Anything can happen, especially in a year like this year. So it's going to be 106 is going to be an interesting bracket to look at. And you said it, the seeding was weird this year. And I think a lot of guys throughout the tournament now are going to maybe have that chip on their shoulder from where they were seated. And I mean, we talked about it off the air. Some of our rankings and your rankings are a lot different than some of these seeding. So
I can explain that, 'cause my rankings this year went off. We started with last year, and then we built the rankings off of this year. They did it a little differently. They did the seeding, state place winners, state qualifiers had precedence over this year unless there was a head-to-head. And in some cases, there were no head-to-heads, and you see this, what maybe is going to make it interesting that is different. The rankings are different from the seeding. They followed their criteria through all 14 weight classes. Got to give them credit to that. I understand state place winners. I maybe not would have gone as far as a state place winner. Here's why. A state qualifier. A state qualifier could have been 8th in his conference. Got in due to injury and finished his season 1-5 last year. And you're giving precedent over a kid that went 10-0 only because he's an 8th grader or 9th grader. He doesn't get seated. So I understand where they went with it. I think it was fair because they stuck with it. I just think it could have been maybe thought of a little different. And you look at some of your state returning qualifiers were.
Yeah, I think one thing that they're not accounting for is improvement during the season. So it's gonna be a very interesting tournament this year. I think it's gonna make for some great matches and maybe some upsets.
My sleepers to get to the podium: Alex Mcavoy, Cesar Rodney. He's seated 8. They are, I believe, wrestling to 8 this year. Isaac Soto Perez, Sussex Tech. He's a sleeper at 106 pounds, maybe to be standing on the steps on Wednesday night. Let's jump to 113 pounds. And you've seen this guy before, two-time state champ, Gabe Jan Petro. He has either pinned or teched all of his opponents this season. He's gone unbeaten. He's never been beaten in Delaware. He's a junior. His side of the bracket, I think his stiffest test is going to come from Tyler Ratledge from Lake Forest. Took 5th last year. They should meet in the semis. And if you go back and watch last year's Hell Open Conference tournament, the match started with Ratledge taking down Jan Petro, something that does not happen very often. Talk a little bit about that top half of the bracket.
Well, Gabe Jan Petro, I had a chance to interview him last year after the state championship. He's probably one of the wrestlers I had the chance to see the most in the last 2 years. And man, he's so fun to watch. Just everything he does out there. I try to catch some of your matches with him when I can. Just, good in every facet of the match, and he can find himself in any position. He can get out of it and turn it around. Tyler Ratledge, 5th last year, looking to make some improvements in that semifinal. Gabe should be okay. You never know, but he should be good there. And then we'll talk about the bottom half in a second. But Matthew Meadows, I believe we saw him last year as well. Got to see a few matches with him. Pretty good wrestler. It's just going to be, it's tough when you have a guy like Gabe Jan Petro, who you talked about, undefeated in the state of Delaware, multiple-time state champion. It looks like it should be his at 113, but a lot of dust to settle.
Let's move to that bottom part of the bracket. You brought up Matthew Meadows. He's been out most of the season with an injury. He wrestled one match. I think he picked up a forfeit in the other. He's been out with an injury. He's going to come back for the state tournament. He gets the number 2 seed because he was the runner-up last year. But let's look at that third part of the bracket, that 3rd seed quarter. And you're going to have Trevor Coats, the 8th grader from Milford. And we just talked about another 8th grader. Why is Coats seeded 3-11-1, but not Radecki? Well, Coats beat Ratledge during the season. And he also, earlier in the season, beat a ranked wrestler, Davis, out of Woodbridge. So he gets the nod at 3rd seed by knocking off that returning place winner. In that quarter, you have Marcelo Iannone of Caravo. He beat Gandolfo this year at 113. He's also undefeated. That could be one of the most exciting quarterfinal matches of Friday with Marcelo versus Coats. They should meet, avoid an upset. Bracket landmine, somebody that could blow this bracket up. I have Logan Russo of Aberquimic, and the reason why he's sitting at 7, we don't know what we're going to get from Meadows. Meadows hasn't wrestled since early January. Is he in shape? Is the injury healed? A lot of things when you're coming back after a 5-week layoff. And a sleeper, Julian Campanelli from Tatnall, no matches. He's got a 1st-round bye. His first match will be Coates if Coates wins his round 32.
Yeah, I want to say, this 113, after you look at Gabe, it's going to be some good matches. You just talked about it. And the way that everything's fallen this year, it's just going to make it that much more, in my opinion, exciting. You get some of those upsets you talked about. Coates, you know him very well. I had a chance to watch some of his matches with your broadcast this year. He looked good, the 3 seed. And again, with Meadows, you mentioned the layoff, but also you never know how his weight's going to be. It's been 5 weeks. Maybe that would be an issue coming back. And now the state's now split into 2 parts. I'm sure we'll dive into that a little bit later as well. Like you said, in a year like this, a lot can happen, and I'm sure that'll be the theme this year. Going to be some upsets and some great matches, I think.
Let's move to 120 pounds. Defending state champ Luke Poor of Caravo. He's the top seed. Got a good quarterfinal in there with MJ Smith of Cesar Rodney and Dylan King of Sussex Central. They should square off in the quarterfinals for the right to face Poor in the semis. Dylan King, big, strong senior. He's not a lot of flash. He just gets to it. MJ Smith, he can be exciting. I think you have to favor King in this match, but it's what kind of match can MJ Smith bring to try to knock off last year's state place winner?
Yeah, and we did a match with MJ Smith earlier this year, actually a few weeks ago. He looks pretty good. I think it was a tough matchup overall, and they wrestled Smyrna. 120. We'll see how it goes, and we'll talk a little bit about your landmine here in a second as well.
Okay, and then we'll get down to that bottom half of the bracket. Corey Messick, he wants to go back to the finals. He was 3rd a year ago, 2nd 2 years ago. And he's going to have to get through a tough 3 seed in Ian Schabach of Indian River. This kid's been around. He's been a couple times state place winner. But let's talk about that bracket landmine. because if this kid can blow up the bracket, he's got 3 tough matches to win a state title. Talk about Jack Engelmann at Slazana.
Yeah, Jack Engelmann. I've seen him a few times in the past couple of years. Good overall wrestler. I had the luxury of wrestling with his older brother, Justin Engelmann, at St. Mark's, and just a very hardworking family. Drill, and glad to see the success he's had here at Salesiana. But again, we talked about it. Once it gets to state tournament time, anything can happen. And a couple of those matches, like you said, 3 tough matches for him if he's able to, win a couple. But overall, it's going to be a tough task to knock off Luke Poor from Caravo. Obviously, we've seen what he could do last year. Such a good wrestler, and somebody's going to have to step up and take on that challenge.
Right. If it's Engelmann, he's got to get through Schabach, Messick, and then have to be Poor on Wednesday night. So that's a tough go. Messick has beaten Poor in the past, 2 years ago to make the finals. Last year, Poor got a little bit of revenge and took it all the way to a state title. The sleeper in this weight class, Quantez Watkins. He's athletic. He's sitting at a 7 seed. He came out late in the season, and he's I believe 2-1 coming into this tournament. So let's move to 126 pounds, and you have Jack Toady. He's the returning state champ. He's the top seed. He's also a pinner, and why I say that is that could help Milford in the team title because Toady puts people on their back. He's going to see a good semifinal. Daniel Williams of Delaware Military and Connor Gerard of Slazana. Gerard beat Miller this season, but Williams also gave Toady a tough match during the regular season. I believe it was a 1-point match. That's a pretty interesting top third or top half at 126.
Yeah, that's a great one. And I mean, we saw Jack Toady last year. Great kid, great wrestler. One of the best state champion speeches I've had a chance to do an interview with. Right. And he talked about Daniel Williams, Connor Gerard, and then he talked about the team title. Well, 126 is particularly usually a pretty tough weight class. I don't know much about Daniel Williams from DMA. Obviously, my old coach, L.A. Collier, Bill Valencia, a lot of those guys are there. I talked to them a little bit. And Connor Gerard, haven't seen him yet either. But when you talked about Toady with a 1-point victory earlier in the year, you mentioned over Williams, correct?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, so 1-0. I mean, that just for me as an example, that happened to me when I was in high school, lost a match like that earlier in the season, able to come back and redeem myself in the state tournament. I mean, a 1-0 victory, that's something you can overcome for sure. I'm sure they've been watching the film on that match. And, again, that's wide open at 126.
Yeah, it's good at the bottom half of the bracket. You have Dylan Knight. He's a state runner-up to Toady in 2020, so he's going to be looking to get back in that state final and get some redemption. But the young man by the name of Cameron Cataldi from Cesar Rodney, that the third seed, I don't know if he's ready to roll out the red carpet for Dylan Knight to get to the finals. Yeah,
Cataldi is a good wrestler, too. I'm not sure what weight class he was at last year. Was he at 126?
106.
Well, no, I was going to say it was right. So he's up to 126, bumping up. But yeah, he was a lot of fun to watch last year, and now you see him at 126. And looking at it, we've said every bracket, it's going to have some great matches in it, and that's no different at 126 for sure.
And then we'll move to a bracket landmine. Here's a kid that could make some noise. Talon Savage, Sussex Central. He's come on strong at the end of the season. Does that name sound familiar to you? Savage, Sussex Central?
A little bit.
Son of Jesse Savage, the 2-time state champ. And maybe the only reason he wasn't a 4-timer was he got injured and he got sick. So he's coming from good wrestling genes. But, hey, there's a sleeper in this weight class, James Eskew, Indian River. He has quietly built a 10-1 record. Him and Savage are going to meet on Saturday night.
Yeah, and that's going to be a great one. And sometimes when you wrestle for a school like Indian River, I know when I was at St. Mark's, we wrestled a lot of out-of-state. It's hard for a lot of people in-state to keep track with what you're doing. That 10-1 record stands out. And it's going to be interesting to see how that applies to some of the better guys probably he hasn't faced yet. But a 10-1 record is impressive. And now he's just got to transition that into wrestling against some of these tougher wrestlers in the state tournament. It's going to be interesting to see how James SK does.
Yeah, kids like Eskew, coaches are scrambling to find some film on him because he's at a program that's a small program. They don't get on Delaware Live much. I'm sure NFH, they're scouring NFHS Network and some Facebook Lives to see if they can get some film on this kid. Let's move to 132 pounds, the last weight class of this segment. Another Milford buck at the top of the bracket. Trent Grant. Milford was the state finalist last year. lost to Ethan Gray in the finals in a match where, if you remember that match, Grant comes out, throws Gray to his back. Gray recovers and comes out winning the state title. But in that side of the bracket, he's going to have Michael Clang of Caravo, who's unbeaten this season. He stands in the path of Grant going to the finals.
Yeah, Michael Clang, correct me. How did he do last year in the state tournament and what weight?
I do not recall. I do not believe he was a place winner, though.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. I do remember a little bit of Michael Clang from last year. Yeah, you see the improvement, unbeaten in this season. Yeah, it's gonna be some good ones. Like I said, the way the schedule is laid out and the way that some of these guys and wrestlers' records are, they're setting them up for some very good matches that maybe some people might not expect. Obviously you have it all layered out, but Trent Grant, Michael Clang should be a great one. And that's just kind of, as we go through this, that's just kind of the theme I'm getting so far.
It's going to be a contrast to styles if they meet in the semis. Trent Grant, man, he'll throw the kitchen sink at you to get a win. He doesn't mind a rolling mixer here, a lat drop there, as we saw in last year's state final. Michael Clang, and he likes to keep it basic, likes to keep it close. Look for that one shot and get a solid takedown. So it's going to be a contrast of style. So let's jump to the bottom part of the bracket. Daniel Sinclair of Wayne Penn, he was a state qualifier last year. He moves up 3 weight classes, but gets the 3rd seed. Jamar Wells, you've seen Jamar Wells from Smyrna before. He was 3rd a year ago. He's seeded 2nd this year. His only loss is to Grant, and he's going to have to avenge that loss. He's going to have to do it in the finals.
Yeah, which is probably what he's, getting mentally prepared for right now. Seen him, very solid wrestler. And once you, place in that top 3 and you start to get a little taste of that success, you just want to keep improving. And it's going to be the perfect year for him to get up in there and try to make the finals. And it should be a good one.
Bracket landmine, Carson Kiss, sitting at the, I believe, the 7th seed, or he's in that quarter bracket. Could meet Wells in the 2nd round, who he lost to in overtime this year. He's ranked number 5 at 132 in our rankings. That's a dangerous guy to be floating around out of the top 6.
Yeah, it's a tough draw for Wells, like you said. And he's going to have to – sometimes it's good to get a match like that out of the way early if you, kind of gets you into a rhythm if you're Wells. And if you're Moyer or somebody else and you can get a win over a wrestler like Wells early, that kind of just builds that momentum and can propel you to maybe even the state finals. So a lot of stuff going on there. One thing to highlight also, you mentioned Daniel Sinclair from William Penn moving up 3 weight classes as the 3 seed. That's that's tough to do sometimes. To move up 3 weight classes. I'm not sure if you would know if he had any other matches in some other weights this year. But to bump up 3, that's that you mentioned styles. That can be a change in style. So it's going to be interesting to see.
We're going to see a few guys like that throughout the brackets. A lot of kids grew over COVID, let me tell you. And sleeper in this weight class, Cale Moyer, Lake Forest. He's got a tough first round with Wells, but he could do damage on the backside of the bracket and go from unseeded facing the 2 seed to maybe standing on the steps at the end of the night.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it, and that's what we just talked about. And like you said, you get that match, and you can see yourself on the podium.
So those are our first 5 weight classes, folks. We're going to take a quick time out. When we come back, we're going to talk about the middleweights with Benny Mitchell and Nick Allesandrini here on Delaware Live Sports. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Scott Kammerer from Soto Concepts. Soto Concepts is an award-winning restaurant group with 12 locations in beautiful coastal Delaware. Come check us out. At Soto Concepts, we believe in cooking beautiful, simple food, developing the people we work with, and making the world a better place. Come visit us this fall for our great off-season specials, like half-price entree night and crab cake night. With 12 locations on the culinary coast from Lewis, Delaware to Fenwick Island, we have something for everyone. See you soon.
At Ferris Home Improvements, your family's comfort and safety is always our top priority.
If you call us for your roofing, windows and doors, siding, decks, kitchen, and bathroom needs, you can expect health-screened craftsmen who wear gloves and face masks and follow minimum 6-foot distancing, virtual conferences to discuss project details, job quotes delivered electronically or brought to your door for your review and approval, and our showrooms in Newark and Rehoboth Beach remain open for limited appointments.
We're here together.
Operating with precautions.
To protect our staff.
And our customers.
The Hadley Group is your local real estate resource. Brian Hadley joined Patterson Schwartz & Associates in 2005. In 2013, Nicole Flora joined Brian, followed by Emma Burnett and Grant Jepp in 2014. That's when the Hadley Group was formed. Patterson Schwartz Associates offer you exceptional knowledge of local market conditions and a commitment to represent you honestly and professionally. So for your next purchase or sale, think The Hadley Group. Visit our website at thehadleygroupre.com.
Home has never been more important. Today our homes serve us in more ways than ever before. Our experienced Capstone Homes team can help you design and build a home for you and your family. We offer an amazing new home experience that earned us the Sussex County Custom Home Builder of the Year award. At Capstone Homes, you get a fully custom home with in-house drafting, design, customer care, and quality craftsmanship for an amazing value. Create your new home that will serve you better. Create a Capstone home. Home has never been
welcome back to Delaware Live.
Today our homes serve us in
Nick
more ways than
Allesandrini,
ever
and
before.
we're to the middleweights next, 138 pounds. Maybe the most exciting weight class. There's two former state champs in the bracket. Ethan Gray is the defending state champ last year at 126. His semifinal opponent will be the winner of the Aaron Briscoe from Milford, Abdullah Ahmad Stats from Lake Forest. That's a rematch from the last week of the season. Stats is undefeated. He's a little bit of an unknown. His brother was a place winner last year as a senior. But Ethan Gray, he's an exciting wrestler, and you don't want to choose bottom on that kid.
No, he's very good. And, last year we remember him making that run for his state title, and then he brought up the dog mask in the interview as an underdog. So now it's going to be a different position for him this year. He's the number 1 seed in the bracket, so no more chip on his shoulder. He's a defending state champ, and now he's got to deal with the pressure of being that number 1 seed, but such a talented wrestler, and I can see him maybe making another run this year.
And we'll look at the bottom half of the bracket. We're going to have a rematch maybe in the semifinals. They had to win to get there. And we said there was another state champ from 2018, Mason Ankrum, Sussex Central, state champ as a freshman, third as a sophomore and a junior. He has a much anticipated rematch in the semifinals with Mikey Frederick of Cape Henlopen. They wrestled late in the season with Ankrum getting the win. Rematches are tough.
Oof, yeah. Rematches, they are tough. I'll tell you, just in personal experience. Again, usually you win the first one. It's tough to win the second one. And Mason Ankrum, we've seen him a few top 10 plays, obviously, this year as well. He's a good wrestler. He said it, state champion. It's state champ to third, now trying to make that jump back up to see himself in the finals. And should be a good overall bracket. And let me ask you this. Do you see any type of trouble for Ethan Gray on his way to get to the state finals?
The fact that the stats is an unknown. I mean, I know the kid, he wrestled for me as a youth. And then they've kind of been quiet in the Lake Forest program. And Lake Forest, who were the Southern Division champs in Henlopen this year, he's 4-0 and part of the reason. So it's Ethan Gray's bracket, half of the bracket to win. If he just wrestles, he just comes out as Ethan Gray. Don't try to do anything cute. Don't try to do anything fancy. Just be Ethan Gray and get your second state title. Let's talk about the bracket landmine. I don't see one here. This is a balanced bracket. I think a sleeper in here to get to the podium, unseeded Liam Bush of Caesar-Rodney. I believe he has 1 or 2 losses this year. He could surprise people this weekend and find himself wrestling on Wednesday.
Yeah, and you see that each and every year with some of these programs that are as successful as Caesar-Rodney just being, one of a few. You see those guys that maybe didn't get a lot of attention during the regular season and stuff like that, but they're in such a great program. They wrestle with such great guys every day that they're just able to improve so much. And, and then that's what happens. If you have a guy like Liam Bush, he wrestles with that CR program, gets better and better. And then next thing you know, he's standing on the podium. So definitely something to look out for with some of those unknown wrestlers for some of those bigger programs.
Right. So let's jump to 145 pounds. Luke Bender from Cape Henlopen, he has been impressive all season. He has a pin over the number 2 seed, Drew Simpson of Delaware Military, in the last match of the season. That's how impressive Bender's been. He has just handled business all year long. He's the number 1 seed. Also in this bracket, you got Jonathan Carrion from St. George's, and he's going to look to challenge Simpson in the bottom of the bracket. Landmines, crystal ball, I don't see anything here. What do you think about this weight class?
I think it all depends how Luke Bender wrestles, I guess. Obviously now, if you look at it that way, I'm not sure what he did last year as a freshman. But very impressive this season. You mentioned whenever you're able to get a pin over the number 2 seed in your bracket. I didn't see the match. I'm not sure how, if it was a dominant pin or if he rolled into a pin. I'm assuming he wrestled very well. So if he's able to just keep that composure, he's the number 1 seed. You just got to keep that mentality throughout. And even if you're a young guy, just stick with that and get some wins.
Bender was third a year ago at 132. The sleepers here, Trent Kemp, Delmar, Angel, Mora, Allesandrini River, they could find their way to Wednesday. They're hiding in that bracket there, but they could find their way. So let's jump to 152, 2-time state champion Alex Poor of Caravo. You remember that match from last year. Down 1, 7 seconds to go, puts it in overtime, wins it on the duck under. He's a top seed at his weight. Let's just talk about that kid because that was just maybe the match of the year last year in the state finals.
It was. You just gave me some nostalgia, Benny, right back to that state finals match. What a match that was. You said it. Great kid, great wrestler. We had a chance to talk to him, in between the tournament, after the tournament. And that match, like you said, the highlight match from last year. And, when you have a match like that, you're able to make a run for the state championship at Cape Henlopen. And next time you get there, similar setting, you can kind of try, you kind of get some of those fields back. And he's going to look to imitate what he did last year. And I think after the way he won it last year, he's going to have some good momentum when he walks in that Cape Henlopen gym again this year.
You remember his interview last year? He was all business in the interview, man. I think he could have gone 6 more minutes. He was zoned in on Saturday night last year.
Yes, and now you said that might have been the best match I've seen in some time now.
Right. Let's talk about his half of the bracket. Josh Spence, Slade-Zanum, and Cole Jester, Sussex Central. They're the 3 and 4 seed respectively, and they should battle it out in the quarters to see who gets a chance to get in Poor's way. Spence, the younger brother of the Maryland wrestler, we saw him. He was on Big Ten Network the other night. So a lot of experience there. We're hearing a lot of Slade-Zanum Caravo, Slade-Zanum Caravo. All right. Remember, there's 2 state titles being offered this year, one for D1, one for D2. And I think these guys are the front runners. Let's talk about that Spence-Jester matchup. Both place winners from last year.
Yeah, and then and like you said, that's the best part is when you get 2 guys that are able to place down, match up ahead of time. And you never know. If those 2 have a good match and one of those guys wrestles a really good match, you can take that momentum into a potential matchup with Alex Poor, which obviously wouldn't be easy. But those are 2 pretty good 3 and 4 seeds. And Alex Poor is going to have to, be himself and be the good wrestler he is and try to get back to where he found himself last year.
And then we go to the bottom part of the bracket. Unbeaten CJ Fritchman from Cape Henlopen. He placed 5th last year, but at 126 pounds. He's moving up. We talked about this. He's moving up 4 weight classes this year. But when you see this kid, you can tell that when he enters the school, he enters it through the weight room. This kid he's ready to go at 152. Expect a rematch between Fritchman and Tim O'Hara of Milford. Fritchman got the first one. They should meet in the semis. O'Hara, 3rd a year ago at 138 pounds. So even he's moving up a couple weights. Crystal Ball sees no bracket landmines here.
Yeah, this should be a good bracket just to sit back and watch, right? And again, Alex Poor, Jester, Spence, Fritchman moving up 4 weight classes. You got another Milford Buccaneer and O'Hara. And again, off topic, but it's going to be very interesting to see again how you just mentioned and alluded to the team titles playing out this year. Because it's going to be the first time, going back to the old criteria.
1992.
Yeah, so it's going to be it's exciting in a way. It's going to be different, and you never know who could walk out state championship.
And a sleeper in this weight class, Chris Branks from Delmar. He's lurking in that bracket. He's in a good spot to pull an upset and get to the podium. So let's jump to 160 pounds. Nick, everybody that knows wrestling in Delaware is talking about this weight class. They're anticipating. I'm going to tell you right now, the final match of the night, Wednesday night, will be 160 pounds. Here's why.
And yeah, we go ahead, lead us into it because it's going to be a good one.
Returning 2-time state champs in this bracket. Joey Natacola of Smyrna. He's a 3-time finalist, winning titles the past 2 seasons. And Nick Hall Caravo, the 2-time state champ of his own. Both have been dominant in the last 3 years, and they should meet in a much-anticipated state final. Let me tell you something. If we had fans there, every seat will be full if it's the last match. People are waiting to see this match. Joey Natacola, Nick Hall. Let's hype it up. Talk about these 2.
I mean, you're right. You don't want to jump the gun, obviously, but on paper, you see these 2 guys. and again, just this year, when you have an opportunity to have, two state champs, you never know how the weight classes are going to play out the next year. So the fact that now they're both at 160 and, you're thinking, oh, maybe one of them will, bump down, jump up or something like that. But no, they're on a collision course at 160. And I'll be ready, microphone in hand, for what should be a great post-match interview with one of those two guys.
Absolutely. Bracket landmine. Sorry, folks. I don't see anybody getting in their way to this thing. Sleepers, Stephen Novak, Delaware Military, Avery Coates, Milford. They could go deep on the backside of the bracket. Copes, unfortunately, he gets Natacola to start the night off, or start the weekend off. So let's move to 170 pounds. What's there left to talk about right after that match? Let's go to 170 though.
Right.
Is the third time a charm for Justin Griffith of Sanford, two-time state finalist. He is the top seed this year. His side of the bracket, the 4 seed, is Sam D. Tommaso of Newark Charter. That's not a school we hear a lot about. Dave Williams has done a great job. I think former St. Mark's guy. He's done a great job building a program at a small charter school over there. Griffith, Di Tommaso, possible semifinal. We'll talk about that bracket.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one. So Sam D. Tommaso is somebody I've been hearing about now for a little while for Newark Charter. Obviously, Dave Williams, my old coach at St. Mark's. I talked to him the beginning of the year, and he said this was the kid to look out for. And here he is as the 4 seed. And when you're Justin Griffith now, like you said, 2-time finalist, now the top seed this year, there's a lot of pressure, right? If you went to the finals twice, now everything I'm sure everybody else is talking about, everything you're thinking about is getting to the finals and winning a state championship. So a lot of pressure now for Griffith. We'll see how he handles that. And we'll see maybe if D. Tommaso can give him a great match there.
Yeah, last year, Griffith losing to Jackson Dean of Caesarati. That was the final match of the night. So I'm telling you, Griffin's probably going to start off the state championships this year and maybe get one and get rolling. The bottom half of the bracket, Josh Malone of Appoquinimink and Matt Duarte of Caravo, they are the 2 and 3 seed respectively. But they're going to face tough challenges in the quarterfinals. DJ Baker of Caesarati, athletic, unpredictable kid, and Gabe Cannon of Sussex Central on the bottom side of the bracket. He's a freshman, but he went 10-0 this year. This may be one of the most exciting brackets of the weekend.
Yeah, and you talked a little bit about it. D. Tommaso obviously got the 4 seed with the different criteria this year. Coming in at Delaware Live, he's at, the 6 seed in those kind of rankings, and that's why it's going to be so interesting. Matt Duarte ranked number 2, Gabe Cannon 3. These are not the seedings, just the rankings. And you have Lesniak obviously there at 4. And that just goes to show you how up in the air it is, and try to see who's going to get where. And you expect to see Griffith in that state finals match, and he's been there the last couple of years, and hopefully he's able to get there again and, welcome that pressure. And then it's just going to be a question of maybe who he beats there.
Right. This is the weight class that says excited. I have 3 bracket landmines in here. Michael Elphick of Cape and Lopin, transfer from Pennsylvania, went to Daniel Boone High School a year ago. Anthony Lucian, Tower Hill, coming down from Episcopal. There's a pair of PA transfers. And then you throw in Nathan Lesniak of Smyrna. These guys could upset the seedings in this bracket, and any one of them could reach the semifinals.
Yeah, you said it. And the fact that you got 2 transfers, not a lot of people able to see them, obviously, last year, or get some film on them. And this is their first year wrestling in the state of Delaware. And the more and more we look at this 170 bracket, the more I think up in the air it is. And it's going to be, like you said, we talked about 160. That's the way everybody's talking about. 170 should be a good one as well following.
Yeah, I think 160 is going to be the most exciting final. 170 is going to be the most exciting weight class.
Yeah, I agree.
So folks, we're going to take a quick timeout again. We're going to come back with the big boys. We're going to finish up with 182 on to 285. And we'll be right back here on Delaware Live Sports. Benny Mitchell and Nick Allesandrini. We'll be right back.
Barkley Heating and Air. Barclays can work on all brands specializing in air conditioners, gas, oil, and heat pumps. Family owned and operated with over 17 years of experience. Licensed, insured, and a multiple-year first state favorites winner. Barkley Heating and Air offers 24-hour emergency service with service plans available. Customer satisfaction guaranteed. Call 302-653-5971 for a free estimate today. John and Ginger Barkley are looking forward to serving the community. Find them on the web at barkleyheatingandair.com.
Congratulations, Dover Federal, on 60 years in business in Delaware.
You've been by our side since our doors opened.
Thank you so much for giving me a call on so many years ago when I had no credit.
You helped our business grow into what it is today.
As a military family, thank you for supporting the financial needs of servicemen and their loved ones.
Happy anniversary, Dover Federal Credit Union.
Happy anniversary, Dover Federal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Local people, local decisions, Dover Federal Credit Union.
Congratulations.
High Five Hospitality was founded in 2004 when 3 guys teamed up to introduce the Buffalo Wild Wings franchise concept to Delaware. They now operate 8 Buffalo Wild Wings, 6 locations throughout Delaware, and 2 locations in Maryland. B-Dubs has weekly and game day specials on their delicious food and beverages. Stop in one of their convenient locations today. The Stone Balloon Ale House features a unique blend of crafted food and an array of spirits, all flavored with a dash of nostalgia. Our culinary mantra is comfort food playfully reimagined, and we prepare seasonal favorites that strive to please the palate and resurface a memory. Limestone Barbecue, from our mouth-watering Texas-style brisket, fall-off-the-bone chicken, and St. Louis ribs. Southern-style sides, mac and cheese, baked beans, cornbread, sweet tea, and our homemade pickles. Be prepared as your bread will be your napkin. Yup, we are that kind of barbecue. Expectation. You'll have a tough time choosing between our exclusive dishes to help get you through the day. French toast, French crepes, Belgian waffles, and of course, our famous Eggs Benedict. High Five Hospitality's mission is to operate 5 brands that serve high-quality products with exceptional hospitality.
Unique Image opened for business in Wilmington, Delaware in 1979 with one focus, wowing our customers with great products and even greater customer service. 30 years later, we are still doing exactly that. Whether you're looking for marketing tools to promote your business, gifts for your employees or clients, or planning a special event, we're here with the voice of experience to help you every step of the way for your complete satisfaction. Visit our new showroom in the Mill Creek Shopping Center, 4577 Kirkwood Highway. Unique Image, you envision, we create.
And welcome back for our third segment of Bracketology, the breakdown of the Delaware High School State Wrestling Tournament. Nick, we're up to the big boys, 182 pounds, and we're going to start with ranking-wise, this should be a final. It's going to be a semi. Josh Negron, Sussex Central, Max Agresti, Salesianum, they've been ranked 1 and 2 all season, but the seeding criteria will have them facing off in the semifinals. Negron, number 2 last year in the state. Agresti, he's a qualifier. They do have one meeting this season with Negron winning 5-2, I believe it was.
Late August, I think. Yeah.
It was early in the season. So Negron, he is a get-after guy, and Max Agresti's dangerous. If you're looking to be in the finals, I don't think either guy likes this matchup for a semi. This is a tough matchup.
Yeah, that's what you don't like to see. There's guys ranked 1 and 2 all year and then have to meet up in the semifinals. That's tough, but it's going to be more hype for that semifinal match. Obviously, Josh Negron last year made it to the finals, beat Lamy as a 3 seed in the semis. Obviously, ran into JT Davis in the state final match.
Now starting at Lehigh, right?
Right, yes, a tough one there. But now, he's been there. He's been in the finals, has some experience there. And again, you mentioned it. They wrestled, I believe, late August at a tournament with Negron getting the win.
And they also wrestled in January in a duel.
So they even seen each other twice. That just makes it that much more difficult. That's a big match I'll be looking forward to seeing in the semifinals. And it's a shame these two can't meet in the finals if that were to work out that way.
And here's why that happened. Unbeaten at 160 this year, Joey Jones of Newark Charter, he makes the move up. He's going up, challenge for a state title, and he gets the 2 seed. I'm sure David Williams has probably talked to you about this guy, and we've seen him in the past too. Joey Jones at Newark Charter.
Yeah, and if knowing Gabe and how good of a coach he was, especially coaching me back then, he knows what to do, what moves to make, and if he's telling him to bump up to 182 to where he's going to have the most success, that's where he's going to have the most success. So it's going to be interesting. Definitely somebody to look out for. And I'll be asking a few more questions to Dave about him before we get started at the state tournament.
Right. We have he has a lot to deal with in that half of the bracket. He's got Dalton Deedy at Cape and Lopin, Joseph Pargo, Red Lion to get to the finals. Bracket landmines in this weight, Brock Connors, Caesar Rodney. He just sits quietly at the 5 seed. That's going to be a tough quarterfinal match on Saturday or Sunday night. And then Gavin Porter of Smyrna, we've seen him. These two guys, they're capable of pulling upsets. They're quality wrestlers.
Yeah, and something we alluded to earlier in the show. Those guys, who do they wrestle for? Cesar Rodney and Smyrna. And when you're in those two programs, and no matter what the rankings say, you're getting the best in the wrestling room with those guys every day. And come state tournament time, those type of wrestlers are going to surprise a lot of people.
Don't sleep on Tyler August of Delaware Military. He lost a close match to Deavy. They're going to boom right off the bat Sunday morning. So let's move to 195 pounds. Daniel Stradley, state champ 2 years ago, runner-up last year. That was in the blue and gold for Salesianum. He transfers to Caravo. He's the favorite to win this bracket. Do not expect the new Sally's guy in that lineup, James Miller, the freshman, to give him a free pass to the finals. This kid's undefeated. Sally's, Salesianum, we say it again, but Miller, Stradley's going to have a tough semifinal to try to get that second title.
Yeah, and Stradley, great wrestler. I believe, last 2 years he's been in the state finals.
Right.
Tough loss for him last year, and then obviously as a senior this year. We talked about this earlier in the year, so he transfers now from Sally's to Caravo. So you got two top-ranked programs in Division I and Division II. Obviously he saw something he liked over at Caravo, so he's over there now. And how about this? You got a Salesianum freshman, James Miller, at the 2 seed. So maybe if these two, I don't know a lot about James.
Actually,
Miller,
he's the 4 seed.
Two ranked 2. Yep,
yeah, ranked number 2. Right.
So how about that? So it may be a little bit of extra juice in that Salesianum wrestling room for Stradley if he were to get to the semifinals, because that sounds like it'd be a good matchup, at least on paper.
Bottom half of this bracket, it's just crazy deep in talent. 3 seed Jackson Hanlon, 2 seed Jacob Davis, Cape and Lopen Laurel. They're getting the nods in the seeding. Cape and Lopen, they could make some noise in the D1 race. Laurel, a small program, they were in the finals several years ago under Jesse Glandon. And then the numbers have dropped off there. Bracket landmines, they're both in the bottom. Tyler Downward of Smyrna and Shamar Nelson of Cesar Rodney. How about that? Cesar Rodney and Smyrna again. They can be unpredictable, but these two kids are athletic. Part of the depth in the bottom part of that bracket. How much fun is this half of the bracket going to be?
I mean, the bottom half is going to be it's going to be extraordinary. It's going to be something to watch, and anything can happen. This is one of the times if you're a wrestler in that bottom half of the bracket, you're thinking, this is my bottom half of the bracket. I'm going to make it to the semis. I'm going to make it to the finals. And it's wide open. You said it, Miller and Stradley up there, and these guys are going to battle it out for a chance to make it on the podium and to make it in the finals.
Right. Sleepers in this weight class, Carter Henry out of Del Castle, Cody Edwards out of Concord, a couple of Blue Hen Conference guys that are looking to get to the steps. Folks, that is a cat over my shoulder for anybody putting it in the chat. That, yes, he's hanging out. It's I tried several times to get him to move, and he just he's in. So let's go to 220 pounds. With 3-time state champion this weight, Hugo Hart is gone.
Gone.
Door to 220 is wide open.
People are rejoicing.
He has had a deadbolt on that baby for 3 years now, the 3-time state champ. So when we talk, it's wide open, right? Here's a school we really haven't talked about much today, and it's one of the old wrestling powers. Nasir Druid of William Penn, he arrives as the front runner.
Yeah, how about that? I mean, I'm not sure how many William Penn wrestlers are ranked in the top 4 or seeded that way, but again, a lot of pressure for this young man being the face of William Penn for the state tournament. Again, people are going to be looking at him to make some noise, and maybe not as much pressure now, as you mentioned, because Hugo Hart's gone, and everybody's just it's going to be a free for all, as you mentioned. But should be a good one, and Druitt going to have to stay focused and maybe try to lead William Penn to the podium, or maybe a finals appearance.
There you go. He should face the winner of Josh Dyer, Cesar Rodney. Here you go. John Palmer, St. Mark's in the quarterfinals. We've been not talking a lot about the Spartans, and they got a guy seeded number 5.
Yeah, so I've been keeping up a little bit with St. Mark's these last couple of years. Not as many wrestlers as they had the luxury of having when I was there back whenever that was, 2013. But yeah, I've watched a few of his matches so far. 220. He looks pretty good from what I've seen. It's going to be tough to tell, obviously, with the schedule and the way St. Mark's and who they wrestle and stuff like that. But like you said, Hugo Hart's gone, and if you're any one of these guys, you're thinking it could be your year, especially if you're a senior or an upperclassman. This is the year to go for it. And again, John Palmer, St. Mark's, they got a great coach over there, and I'm sure he's improved year in and year out. And he's excited for it. So see how he does.
I hear, even down here, I hear St. Mark's as a school is starting to get the numbers back in. They're doing good things there. You're in the neighborhood, an alum. Are you hearing the same thing, that St. Mark's is about ready to turn the corner again as a private high school in Delaware?
Oh yeah, high school wise, they've been doing a phenomenal job. I want to give a shout out to Robbie DeMacy too, old wrestler
Former
for St. Mark's. He was great in the foundation. He works with the Muscle Movement Foundation. He's done a great job over at St. Mark's, and they've done just such a great job as a high school to get those numbers back up. They were hurting there for a while. They got some great donations. They've improved a lot, and those numbers are going back up. And hopefully, there will be a correlation between that and wrestlers on the wrestling mat. Hopefully they can get some more guys out there. And that's the toughest part, is being able to get guys out to be on the team and just to get wrestlers out there. So hopefully with the attendance going up, they'll be able to do that.
So let's go to the bottom half of the bracket. The Sanford Warriors, they would love to take a pair of state titles back up north Wednesday night. And they have a chance in Jason Lamy at 220. He's the number 2 seed in his weight. Andre Green, here's something we don't talk about a lot. St. Elizabeth stands in the way. He's seeded number 3. Green was a place winner a year ago. Last year was the first year back for the Vikings wrestling program.
Yeah, shout out to Marvin Dooley, obviously getting them back in. And, when we were going over these notes yesterday, the day before, that's the one thing that stood out to me. You got a St. Elizabeth wrestler, St. Mark's wrestler here at 220, and it's open. You got some of those old programs that were, pretty good, and now they got some guys that they can focus on. And Lamy, that's going to be a tough matchup for anyone that he has to go against. Obviously, we've seen him for a couple of years now, and that's going to be a wide open bracket. Another one, like we talked about it, at 170, where you just, not sure who's it going to be, and should be another good one. I wouldn't want to be filling out any March Madness brackets for these state tournaments this year. No.
Bracket landmine, Bo Minner of Slasianum. He's one to watch. And the sleeper in his weight class, Derek Wong of Sussex Central. He, like I said, he's not a flashy wrestler, but he finds ways to get the job done. Let's move to the last weight class of the night. 285 pounds, you have 2-time state champ, 3-time finalist. 3-time finalist, that means he was there as a freshman at 285 pounds. That's where the men are, right?
Yeah.
He returns to the top seed of the bracket. Hudson is known around the state as his best matches come on the last weekend of the year. He shows up for the state tournament. Just not a lot to talk about competition-wise in that top part. I looked through it, I'm like, who can beat Hudson? I mean, it's going to take a monumental effort for somebody to not keep him out of the finals.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And year in and year out, he's there. And when you look at some of these heavyweights, especially in years past, they can kind of look forward to the state tournament. They can kind of feel out the way that, feel out his guys that he's wrestled with. He's been there 3 times, so he knows what he has to do to get there. It's just a matter of different opponents each year. And this year, you mentioned it, nobody's standing out right now, and I'm sure he's just ready to get back on the mat and remind everybody why he's a 3-time finalist.
Yeah, he's a big guy, and he cuts weight to 285. He was an all-state linebacker. So that tells you his athleticism and his mobility.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I mean, I should have guessed that from watching him wrestle, but that's quite an accomplishment there.
So let's move to the bottom half of the bracket. I think these seeding numbers, they're going to get shaken up like a game of Yahtzee, boy, when the dust settles. TJ Burke, Indian River, the 2 seed. He's going to face a tough Sunday night quarterfinal against Lucas Rupert, a place winner a year ago for Cape and Lopin. And then the 3 seed, Brett Quacca from Slasianum, will have to get through Seth Layfield of Sussex Tech. Layfield pinned Rupert this year. So that's kind of how this all got jumbled. And talk about the bottom half of that bracket, it looks a little bit like 170.
Yeah, exactly. Right up to that seems to be the theme once again. TJ Burke, Indian River, another Indian River guy we see up there, this time as a 2 seed. Impressive season for him. Rupert, another one of those Cape Henlopen Vikings that were seeded well this year. And Brett Quokka, somebody I haven't had a chance to see yet from Sally. So top program in the state. So you obviously know what you can expect something from him. And when you got a bracket like this, when guys have beaten each other, it's one thing. And then you got the seeding this year, so you can beat a couple guys. Now the interesting seeding. There's just, like you mentioned, it's all packed into this bracket. And it's going to be very interesting to see, like you said, after the dust settles, what happens here. And again, a lot of it this year in terms of the excitement and some switch-ups you can attribute to the seeding.
bracket landmine, Lucas Rupert, Cape and Lopin, 7 seed. He is dangerous. He could find his way to the finals. The sleeper in this weight class, I think he's going to go much higher than his 5th seed, is Chance Wells of Delmar. He's got a win over Burke. He's got a win over Layfield, but he also has a loss to Burke, and that's how that kind of moved him to the number 5. So the Delmar Wildcats, we see a lot out of them in football and field hockey. Now they're putting a wrestler on the map.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think I saw maybe one other Delmar guy also
right
in here. And yeah, that's what you like to see. And usually field hockey, state champs year in and year out.
Right.
Football field, and they're doing phenomenal things on there. I mean, me living all the way up here in the north, don't get to catch much Delmar. But the success you hear about it statewide, and now it's even more impressive that they're transitioning to the wrestling mat and can throw a few kids out here in the state tournament, for sure.
So let's transit back. It's 1992, and we're doing the state title by team score. Let's talk about Division II. Who can challenge Caravo? I think the team that will come the closest, Delaware Military, maybe Lake Forest, but I think Caravo's in a class of their own in Division II.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on that one. Caravo, just, so good with teams like at every weight class. And even as we saw last year, some of those weight classes where they didn't have a 1 or 2 seed, those guys are making runs in the state tournament as a 5 seed, as a 6 seed. That's just the type of program they are. And yeah, DMA, they've done a great job revitalizing that program. LA and Coach Bill Valencia, they've done a phenomenal job over there. Delaware Military Academy, and Caravo's just got tons of firepower.
Well, you got a couple guys there at DMA. They ended up being ranked number 2 in Division II at the end of the season via dual meets. And you got a couple guys there that came up under the Steve Bastianelli era, and they just brought it with them, not that far down the road, really, exactly. And into DMA. So let's talk Division I. This could be exciting. I have to say right now, everybody's chasing Salesianum. I mean, I look at they could put 8 guys in the semis. That's a lot of points there. Who's chasing them? I think there's going to be a dog pack. You got Cape and Lopin in the hunt. You got Milford in the hunt. You have Smyrna in the hunt and Caesar Rodney. They all kind of one beat the other this year. Smyrna came out at the end and got the number 2 ranking. Milford Bucks, man, they could put 5 in the finals, right?
Yeah,
but they could also not score in 5 weight classes. Very similar thing with Cape. Cape might be able to push some guys through, but they have some weight classes where they're going to struggle. Smyrna, it gets a little better there. They're a little more solid and balanced, and I think Caesar Rodney not going to put a lot of guys in the finals, but may put a lot of guys on the podium. So I think you're looking at those 4 teams, and they're chasing the lead dog in Salesianum.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really good state tournament. I mean, it's going to be one thing. It's interesting now that you're going back to the criteria from, I think you said, was it 99, 92?
I believe.
92, yeah. I mean, and it's different, but a lot of people are familiar with it. I think it's going to make for a great state tournament. A lot of this pressure was, when you got to the state tournament, it was a lot on you. It was you as a wrestler. This is where, you were, go do your thing, you shine, you place. But now it's a team game once again. It's a team. Everything counts now. So if you're fighting, you don't want to get pinned by somebody. If you're on your back, it's time, you want to fight off your back, stuff like that. So I think it's going to change up some things, especially in terms of the teams, battling for dual meets. We've seen in the dual meet state championships, a lot of teams like to make some moves. They can bump up, bump down. It's a little bit more wiggle room as a coach for you to make some moves and try to improve in certain matches. And now you don't have that luxury. It's straight up. You've got your wrestlers in each weight class, and now you have to coach them up and, make them the best they can be in the state tournament time, the most important time of the year. So I'm actually a little bit excited to see a state champ crowned this way. I'll ask you, do you see there being any major differences? Do you think that this criteria for crowning a state champion worsened Sally's or Caravo's chances of taking home a state title?
I think it actually improves them this year. What's going to be more fair this year is you don't have the conference breakdowns. So you can bring your whole team to the state tournament. So there's equity there, except for teams that don't have full teams. But as far as the big guns, they can bring all 14 guys. In the past, the Henlopen Conference is a meat grinder. It was always hard to get 14 guys to the state tournament, and that's kind of why they went to the dual meets. Dual meet wise, I mean, Sally's had a fantastic year. Obviously, Caravo made. No, I'm not. It's not maybe Caravo's the best team in the state, Division I or Division II. But yeah, I think either way, I think Caravo was going to win either way. I think this actually improves Sally's chances because you can't make moves now. You can't bump your 152 to 160. So you can't bump your 160 away from Nick Hall now. So you got your 14 guys. They got to fan it out through the brackets, and I think this is advantage to Sally's. So, folks, here's here's how the state tournament's going to go this weekend. Saturday night, it's the lightweights. First 7 weight classes of the 14 will start at 11 o'clock on Saturday. On Sunday, the big boys come in, and they will all wrestle to the last 8 guys. Those 8 guys will come back on Wednesday, and I believe they're starting at 1. Don't hold me to that. You can always check your schedule. Finals will be at 6 o'clock. We will be there. I will be broadcasting the final, commentating the finals on the track wrestling and NFHS network. Nick will be doing the interviews, the much anticipated interviews. We had a lot of fun with them last year, and I think we're going to be enjoyable this year. He'll be handling the interview part of the so you'll be able to pick those up on our Facebook page, and then we'll collect them all and put them on YouTube later in the week. Strange this year, Nick, no fans until the finals, and there's only going to be 28 fans at that. Not even times 2. So yeah, it is what it is. But here's the part that's really crazy. The kids can't even sit in the gym. They're going to be sitting in the cafeteria, socially distanced. So I mean, credit the DIAA and the wrestling committee for having a tournament, but these were the hoops and hurdles they had to go through and over to put it out there. I know they've taken a lot of heat over this, but we're having a state tournament. That's what's most important.
Exactly.
But I want you to go back. I know I wouldn't have been able to handle it. I want you to think about sitting at a desk for 2 hours and then getting up and getting on the mat for a match, a quarterfinal match in the state championships.
I will tell you, that is that's the first time I've heard that. But that is, I mean, again, props to the DIAA for just being able to have a tournament. That's what we all wanted, and that's what we all needed. And they've taken some criticism, but that's going to be brutal. I think not only do you not have the fan aspect, which, I mean, we've been to the state tournament year in, year out. That place is packed to the brim.
And rocking.
The electricity in there for just any match, with those matches going on all at once. There's always, great matches, and the crowd gets into it, the fans get into it, the wrestlers get into it. It's just going to be such a different environment. And we saw some wrestlers last year where they looked to the side, they looked to their fans, their crowd, and they were able to pick up some momentum from that and keep going and dig deeper. And one of the best high school environments for any type of sport that I've been to at Cape Henlopen for the state championships. So that's going to be, a great event overall, but I can't imagine getting ready for a match, as you mentioned earlier, sitting out there, socially distanced. Now you just got more time to think, get in your own head, and not a lot of time to warm up. It's actually going to be a tougher mental task on these guys that I didn't really take into consideration earlier.
Yeah, people talked about, do you put an asterisk by 2020, 2021? I think an asterisk is a badge of honor, because what these kids in sports have had to endure this year to compete, and now you're talking about an individual sport and what they've had to endure. Yeah, go ahead. If I win a state title, put an asterisk by my name, because that's just like giving me an extra medal.
Oh, I have to agree. This is going to be a different year, a way different year. And I think you're right. I think it's going to be a little bit tougher, just from all the things that you've said. To be able to go out there, especially if you're an underdog in the state tournament, if you've been an underdog in the state tournament and you've gotten into one of those matches where you were supposed to lose and you're winning maybe in the second and third period, like you said, that crowd gets into it. People start to watch and they start to notice. And to not have that extra juice in there, I think this year is going to hurt, but at least we're getting the tournament in, and at least these kids are going to get a chance to battle for a state title.
So that's your bracket breakdown, folks, here on Delaware Live Sports. I'm Benny Mitchell, Nick Allesandrini. Check out our Facebook page and Twitter Saturday, Sunday, and Wednesday. We'll be bringing you, Nick will be bringing you some interviews on Wednesday. I'll be in there interviewing some people on Saturday and Sunday. Stay with our coverage, and thank you for your support of Delaware Live Sports. That's a wrap. Nick, see you Wednesday night, buddy.
See you Wednesday.